Hi, I'm Sherry and this is Gardening in the North. If you're watching any of my videos, it's because we have something in common. We want to grow food for our family. I get joy and excitement when I see my seeds germinating into seedlings, and I know that only a fellow gardener would truly appreciate that. There are often times when I'm talking to family and friends and I see them glass over because I've just said way too much about gardening than they really need to know. And I don't know if any of you are experiencing that, having the lack of a gardener in your social circle. I do think that that may change going forward. I think that with COVID happening, there are a lot more people out there that want to be self-sufficient and they are trying to garden. And I just cross my fingers and hope that next year they come back and they continue to grow. So the garden I'm in right now is a very small 15 by 15 garden space. It's right off of my pool area. And essentially this area here, when we first put the pool in, was a wasted space. It was on a bit of a hill, and so I started planting in some perennials just to make it look pretty. And so when I thought of the idea of planting okra, I thought that this garden area would be perfect, considering that okra do not like to get their feet wet. And so because of that, and because it's on a slant, I thought that if there was any rain, the rain would just kind of drain away and it would give the okra the water that they needed, but it wouldn't keep it wet underneath the soil. And so one of the other things that I've done is I've covered the whole garden in wood chips. And so that helps me to limit the amount of times that I actually have to water when it doesn't rain. So let's take a look. Okay, so before we head down to the okra, I want to stop and show you this strawberry plant that I planted here. Seems to be doing pretty good. It was just 3 leaves when I planted it at the beginning of the season, so it's doing pretty good. Okay, so this is the first one. And so if I was to measure it, it's probably only at my knee. They haven't really grown to the size that I anticipated them growing. And I think that may have something to do with the fact that we don't get the heat here that they like. And so if I go over here, you'll see that I have one lone little okra that I'm going to cut off. Okay, so I'm gonna give this a go. It's small. My understanding is that when you pick them when they're smaller, they're not as woody, and that the slime that you may experience inside them isn't as much as for when they get bigger. So I thought, perfect, I will pick it when it's little like this, give it a go, and see if I like it. It's actually really good. That is really good. And I don't know what they were talking about slime. Maybe it's further in. This is really good. I will grow this again. Okay, so now I'm going to take you over to my strawberry patch. A year ago when we put our pool in, we had to abide by the bylaws in which we had to have a fence around our pool before we could fill it with water. And I was a little bit distraught by that, thinking that I had a gorgeous garden on either side of the pool area and that it was going to be destroyed. The ambience of my garden area would be destroyed by this fence. And so I decided to put a garden area along the fence and plant perennial fruits in there so that it would take away from the actual idea of having the fence there. So come with me, I want to show you how I have propagated my strawberry plants by making sure that all the runners that we get are planted into the soil. So as I walk you around the pool fence garden, one of the things I want to mention to you is that you don't have to have a huge garden area to garden, to provide that food that you want to provide to your family. You can use whatever space you have. And so this is a prime example of that. I'm using basically 1.5 feet alongside the pool fence to do my gardening. And so I urge all of you to find that space. Find the space that suits you. If that's a container, use it. If it's a small little area in the front of your house, use it as well. And so I'll just show you here this cucumber that I have growing on the pool fence. How cool is that? And so I'm trying to utilize the space that I have. And so I think I'm going to snag this little guy here. Oh, there's nothing like a warm raspberry. Okay, so this is one of the strawberry areas that I have here. And I have slightly neglected it in the sense that there are multiple runners all over that really need to be placed into the soil so that they can produce plants for next year that will then provide me with double the amount of strawberries that I had this year. And so one way to do that, and of course I always use my hands, I probably should wear gloves. One of the ways that I do it is I just take this area here and literally just stick it in like that. I stick it in like that, and afterwards I will cover it once it starts to grow a little bit with wood chips to keep it nice and moist. And so here's another one. Again, I just remove some of the wood chips. There is really good compost under here that I put in at the beginning of the season. And there's some more here. So you'll see this one here actually has some roots already starting. And so I will just make sure that those get put in. And there we go. And then I'll just put this guy over here. And basically that's all you're going to do. You're going to keep sticking those runners in. They're going to, you know, build a really good root system underneath the wood chips. And next year, I'm going to have double the amount of strawberries. And so I just wanted to show you the rest of the strawberry patch that I have. And so you can see here that they're starting to come off of the actual garden area. And so we just want to be careful. I want to come back out. I want to make sure that they're all tucked in nice and tight, because when we cut the grass, we don't want those to get damaged. And so again, these were all so little when I first planted them. So little. And I have them all along. You can see the runners that are coming out. And I wonder if there are any roots on these guys. Oh, look at that. I didn't even plant that one in. That one just took root all by itself. It's pretty amazing. So I just wanted to show you the tomato harvest from my plants. I don't know if I've mentioned that I have 107 tomato plants. And so that's a story in itself on how I ended up with 107. So this is what I pulled today. And I just really want to urge you to start a garden. You know, when I first moved here, I had 5 raised beds that were already here. They were approximately 6 by 3 feet, and I now have 2,000 square feet of gardening space. And I can't wait to start making stuff with these tomatoes. I've already made zucchini salsa, and I'm going to do another batch of it. I've dehydrated tomatoes and placed them into jars with oil and spices. I have 50 cups of tomatoes in my freezer waiting to be made into tomato sauce. I just love it. The feeling of success that I have when I pick my baskets full like this is unbelievable. And again, only a gardener would really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing your time with me.